Iran's military is now trying to scare the United States over Donald Trump's naval blockade plan, issuing fresh warnings after the latest round of talks collapsed without a deal. Iran's powerful Revolutionary Guard threatened to turn the Strait of Hormuz into a deadly whirlpool for U.S. warships, vowing to confront any attempt to seal off its vital waterways. Trump could not fully reopen and secure the Strait of Hormuz after more than 1 month of intense war, and questions are now being raised over whether the U.S. can realistically enforce a full blockade. Global oil prices have spiked sharply in the wake of Trump's new move, with many observers saying the market reaction shows the world has little confidence in Washington's ability to control this crisis. U.S. President Donald Trump said on April 12 that the U.S. Navy would move to lock down the Strait of Hormuz after negotiations with Iran failed to produce a lasting agreement. Trump also declared that U.S. forces would intercept, on global seas, any ship that continued to pay transit tolls or fees to Iran, signaling a bid to choke off Tehran's maritime revenue. Later, the U.S. military announced that a naval blockade on Iran would formally begin from 10 a.m. Eastern Time on April 13, setting a precise start time for the operation. American commanders stated that they would seek to blockade all maritime traffic entering and exiting Iranian ports, dramatically tightening pressure on Tehran's trade routes. In response, Iran's elite Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps issued a warning to the U.S. and its allies against any miscalculations, hinting at severe consequences if the plan goes ahead. The IRGC Navy said that one wrong move by the United States would plunge its forces into a deadly whirlpool of destruction, evoking the image of a catastrophic confrontation at sea. According to Iranian media, the IRGC currently controls the strait and is only allowing civilian ships to pass under strict conditions that Tehran itself sets and monitors. The Guard stressed that any foreign warships attempting to pass through the Strait of Hormuz would be treated as a direct provocation and would lead to an armed confrontation. Iranian forces added that attempts by U.S. warships to cross the strait would also constitute a violation of the 2-week ceasefire that Tehran and Washington had agreed upon. Tehran's sharp warning followed U.S. claims that 2 American warships had transited the Strait of Hormuz while peace talks were still underway. The U.S. said that the USS Peterson and USS Murphy moved through the strategic waterway during April 11 to 12 as part of ongoing regional operations. Washington stated that this transit was carried out as part of a mission to ensure that the strait was fully clear of sea mines and safe for commercial shipping. Admiral Cooper said the U.S. Navy had already begun the process of establishing a new, safer passage corridor through the mined area of the strait. Cooper added that details of this safe pathway would be shared with the global maritime industry soon, in an effort to reassure shipping companies amid heightened tensions. However, Iran denied that any U.S. military vessels had successfully transited the Strait of Hormuz, directly contradicting the American account. Tehran claimed that 2 U.S. warships attempted to enter but turned back after facing an Iranian missile lock and drone threats in the narrow waterway. Iran and the U.S. had agreed to a 2-week truce on April 7, but subsequent peace talks held in Pakistan failed to deliver a breakthrough, setting the stage for the latest escalation. After failed peace talks, Iran has warned the United States that Americans may soon miss today's relatively cheap gasoline. Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad Bakir Kalibaf, made the warning on April 12, according to Press TV. Kalibaf suggested that U.S. consumers could soon grow nostalgic for current fuel prices as tensions keep rising. His comments came shortly after President Donald Trump ordered the U.S. Navy to impose a naval blockade on Iran. The move is aimed at the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical sea lanes for international oil shipments. Tensions between Washington and Tehran have continued to escalate following the collapse of peace talks in Islamabad. According to the American Automobile Association, average gasoline prices in the United States are about $4.125 per gallon. Reports say U.S. gasoline prices have already climbed roughly 40% compared to pre-war levels. Oil prices surged again on April 12, after Washington announced a blockade of Iranian ports starting the next day. U.S. crude jumped around 8% to $104.24 per barrel, while Brent crude rose about 7% to $102.29. Iran, for its part, has already restricted passage through the Strait of Hormuz, allowing only a limited number of countries' vessels to pass. Iran's Revolutionary Guard's Navy has stated that the strait will not return to pre-war conditions for what it calls adversary states. Meanwhile, the US president has said he does not care if Iran chooses not to return to the negotiating table.
I would say it's holding well. Their military is destroyed. Their whole Navy is underwater. You know that 158 ships are gone. Their Navy's gone. Most of their mine droppers are gone. We have a lot of people, as you know, at 10 o'clock tomorrow, we have a blockade going into effect. That'll be 10 o'clock tomorrow. Other nations are working so that Iran will not be able to sell oil. And that will be very effective. But what we want to do is we want to, and again, we don't need it. What we notice and what we see and what I think is maybe my idea, maybe not, I don't know. But there are many boats heading toward our country to fill up with oil and then go and take it. So they're not going to go through the Hormuz Strait. And ultimately that'll be corrected. But in the meantime, they're using us. We have more oil because of drill, baby, drill. We have more oil than Russia and Saudi Arabia put together. I think Iran is in very bad shape. I think they're very desperate. We had a meeting that lasted 21 hours. We understand the situation better than anybody, and Iran's in very bad shape. And just so you understand, Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. Will not have. There is no way that they're going to get. They still want it, and they made that clear the other night. Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. Oh, I don't know. I don't care if they come back or not. If they don't come back, I'm fine. Their military is gone. Their missiles are largely depleted. The manufacturing capability for missiles and drones is largely defeated. We've been very nice. We haven't ripped down too many bridges. We did one only because they broke their word. They broke their promise. And remember, their promise was that they were going to open the Hormuz Strait. They didn't do it. They lied. We don't like a pope that's going to say that it's okay to have a nuclear weapon. We don't want a pope that says crime is okay in our cities. I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of Pope Leo. He's a very liberal person, and he's a man that doesn't believe in stopping crime. He's a man that doesn't think that we should be toying with a country that wants a nuclear weapon so they can blow up the world. I'm not a fan of Pope Leo.
The United States has announced it will begin a blockade of all maritime traffic to and from Iranian ports starting April 13th. This action follows an order from President Donald Trump to ratchet up pressure on Tehran after negotiations between the two sides failed. The blockade will apply to vessels of all nations that are entering or leaving Iranian ports and coastal areas along Iran's shoreline. According to reports, the restrictions will cover shipping routes across the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. However, US officials say transit through the Strait of Hormuz to non-Iranian ports will not be affected and will be allowed to continue. Mariners operating in these waters have been advised to closely monitor official broadcasts and maintain communication with US naval forces while transiting the region.